Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and all the droids, in today's video where we're gonna see the Grand Army of Naboo for the first time in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, the first edition and first Gungan, Boss Nass, the king of motorboating. Oh my gosh, guys. I know we're just getting started, and I'm gonna set the same expectations like I did in my testing. We aren't supposed to like see the C's part and all this stuff, because it's only one of one Gungan. There are still 4 more to come. But it's already seeming like, in the right conditions, because of the shield generator that Boss Nass can be granted to the Gungans, they could be nearly invincible. Like, wow. So really impressive that we're seeing right now, and we can kind of get optimistic for what the future is. But also, with the strengths we've seen, we also see the weaknesses that are already very evident, the weaknesses to the Gungans, how to beat them, and things that are gonna need to be addressed if this is seriously gonna be a hard-hitting team for the future of Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. Now, make sure you guys stick around till the end. There are a lot of freebie stuff that's going on. I'm really liking the new economy stuff that they're doing. CG is giving a lot of free shards for Boss Nass, for free-to-play players, some pay-to-play players. Keep in mind, it makes sense because this is a brand new faction. You can't do anything of them day one. So it's kind of hard to ask people to spend top dollar on something you can't really use. Although I think we could maybe do some minor things of Boss Nass as it currently sits. So we want to put that out there. Stick around till the end. Let's talk about mods real quick here. People provide this lovely mod graphic for us, of course. Very early days of testing with Boss Nass, but we're already kind of seeing a little bit of what Boss Nass is capable of. So this guy's already got some pretty nice speed associated with him. He's kind of in that Admiral Piet type of range, so very easy to give him the 330, 340, and with his lead before Omicron, and you can push big numbers, and with the Omicron, you can easily get over 400 speed. So speed, protection, potency are going to be key attributes when it comes to Boss Nass. So it might change as we get more Gungans, but we're seeing some interesting results already, and really the results are coming from primarily just this shield generator right here. It's going to be the whole identity for the Gungans, and I think this is really creative. It really kind of fits the Gungan theme where those plasma shields are the shield generator, a massive force to be reckoned with 500% defense. And as we're going to show right now with the solo Boss Nass, a full 501st team going all in on him, can't kill him off. That's nuts. We're immune to critical hits, which also is very anti-General Skywalker and a variety of other high crit teams, Commander Luke Skywalker. This is also important. Taking reduced damage from percent health damage effects, so Malik wouldn't work. Seer Junda's big hit. Captain Rex's aerial advantage, damage over times, plagues. List goes on. This shield generator is the whole entire identity of the Gungans. It's its massive strength, but it's also going to be a massive, massive weakness. So let's go ahead and start rolling some gameplay, just kind of giving you some of the hypothetical, theoretical elements that the Gungans are bringing to the table. And I started off with this. This is, I think, the coolest takeaway that I got during our initial live stream testing of Boss Nass. Again, I went to the testing thing, and we're not really going to learn anything. We learned a lot with just one Gungan. Now, the only way to get this shield generator on the field is you have to have a full team of Gungans. And, well, we only got one Gungan, so we only can do Boss Nass solo to see what the shield generator can do. And as you're going to see, kind of impressive. I asked my buddy, we cheated a little bit here, where we got my opponent to just do full auto basic targeting Boss Nass so they don't hit that shield generator, as we're going to talk about here. But even so, even though we kind of rigged the battle a little bit in favor of Boss Nass, there aren't a lot of characters that could survive a full 501st team. You know, they can clean up a Jedi Master Kenobi, Darth Malix, many other things. So this is incredibly impressive in its own right. We will really show the strengths that this team is going to have. High durability, crazy amount of protection, and the shield generator is really the core identity of what these Gungans are going to be bringing to the table here. I mean, it's pretty nuts seeing the 501st relics and all that jazz hit for 1,700 damage. And I know we don't like to talk about the D word datacrons, but it is a factor of high-end gameplay. Just imagine when you have a lot of things that amplify protection, defense. I'm sure they'll add a datacron for Gungans down the road. Yeah, this is going to be probably even more insane. However, don't be entirely fooled by this. So the reason why we had ourselves just do auto basic on Boss Nass is because right now, the biggest weakness that we're seeing is the fact that, well, yeah, if the shield generator goes down, which it's very easy to disrupt it, it's kind of game over. Like we did some Genosian battles. Genosians, one swarm on the shield generator. Once you lose the 10 stacks, it's basically gone. The good news is once the shield generator does go down, you kind of get this last burst of momentum. Kind of makes sense. Again, this is, I love the design of the Gungans already so far before we see the rest of the stuff here. So the good news is once it finally goes down, you kind of get this last big burst of energy coming from the Gungans, where when the shield generator is defeated, Gungans allies will gain 50% turn meter, and then so you kind of get this last push, and it very feels much so reminiscent of the Phantom Menace here. So the issue is that right now is that the shield generator, it's way too easy to target. You know, if the AI is just a little bit smart, it does a couple of random hits on the shield generator, very easy to knock it down. But I think right now, when we kind of ignore that part, I think Boss Nass actually might have some interesting utility even right now as just a single guy inside the Gungan faction, where, you know, at times in Grand Arena, you get stuck with a solo Grievous or solo General Skywalker and some other stuff in between. This guy, because of the high defense and because a solo enemy, it's going to take him a lot longer to figure out how to get the shield generator down. It feels like because of the fact that he's not purely a pacifist character, he's got the durability so he can survive, and he's got this Newt Gunray-like damage with the Ankura resilience. Unique ability, so long as you have the Zeta, anytime Boss Nass inflicts a debuff, which is why potency is going to be incredibly important here, he's going to deal true damage to the target enemy, not max health damage, true damage, which is very much different. So things like, you know, Darth Malik, it's going to hurt him. It's not a health percent damage, which is going to be something very useful. So again, I was very blown away by the fact that it would take out a General Skywalker, yet alone survive a full 5-0 first team. So something to keep in mind. Again, not advocating you go all out and wail on Boss Nass, because as we're going to see, there's no need to wail with 7 stars. There's a lot of freebie stuff going on as we're going to discuss. But nonetheless, I wasn't expecting to get any use out of him or anything cool. Completely wrong on the matter. And it even seems like there might be potential, since we're immune to percent health effects. Who knows? There might be a chance that Gungans could take down Lord Vader. They're incredibly durable. And, you know, you have things like Lord Vader Maul trying to do damage, but if they could survive the hits, they might be able to do something like that. So again, I can't promise you any GL viability, but it's interesting to see. As long as that shield generator's up, it looks like Lord Vader has no chance up against Boss Nass. The other strength here, which is also kind of a weakness, you know, it's kind of funny. We're talking about the strength, shield generator, cool, anti-crits and all this other stuff, but it's also a weakness. The second it goes down, the Gungans basically crumble at that point. But Boss Nass's other big thing that he's got going, it's an incredibly durable team. His leadership ability gets tons and tons of protection on him, and it's also going to ramp throughout the battle. But especially in the case of Boss Nass, where his unique ability converts his health into max protection. Woo! Well, on the surface, it's very good because, number one, in the situation, damage over time is worth a problem, even though the shield generator's there. You know, a lot of damage over time's plagues, they only affect health. Well, if you're protection, who the heck cares? So that's something going well for Boss Nass here. But the other problem that we're kind of seeing with that, although max protection's great because there's not a lot of anti-max protection stuff except maybe like Radis's shield, this protection disruption. The problem is, as we're seeing in this battle, it is super easy to take whatever limit of max health Boss Nass has after the conversion from his unique ability and turn it to basically 1. And what's the issue with that, Arnold? Like, it's still thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of protection. The problem is, anything that ignores protection, it's just going to completely crumble this team. So we only got a couple of examples in the game. You know, we got things like Sith Assassin can ignore protection, Sith Trooper can ignore protection, Repost can ignore protection. So again, the biggest strengths that Boss Nass is showing could also be turned into a weakness. So keep that in mind. Is it a big deal right now? There's not a lot of Repost, not a lot of under protection type abilities, but they do exist out there inside the game. Very little, and who knows? That might be something as the game grows and this team maybe turns into being super meta. I can imagine we'll bring in something to be counter to that. Ignoring the Gungans for a moment, because obviously there's a lot more that we need to learn here. You might be asking, okay, can I use Boss Nass in a non-Gungan capacity? Because right now it's going to be a few weeks, so the Gungans get put together. Well, I don't think so. The problem is, one, he's not Galactic Republic, which is disappointing, but it makes sense. They want to keep the identity of the Gungans together and not give us the incentive of pulling someone off and away to a different team out there. And when you use them in a non-Gungan capacity, number one, you don't get the shield generator. You need a full Gungan team, man. Well, there's only one Gungan in the game. So unfortunately, you're not going to get the shield generator, which is the bread and butter Boss Nass. And pretty much all the other abilities aren't extremely helpful. The really only nice thing that he does is that he's got a mass buff dispel. And if you think about it, mass buff dispels aren't a super common light side mechanic. Yeah, there's a few. Anakin of Padme, Kira's got a buff dispel. Boss Nass has a very solid buff spell that works better than I expected. Even if there's foresight, he kind of gets rid of the foresight and then goes for the buffs, which again exceeded my expectations. Buff dispels are mostly a dark side mechanic. You know, B2, Probe Droid, Supreme to Kyle Ren, Cyan. You know, it makes sense. Light sides are very buff heavy. Dark side isn't buff heavy. In order to counter the buff heavy teams, they need buff dispel. So that's very nice. Otherwise, it's not super helpful outside the Gungans. You know, and he can maybe help recover a little bit of protection for allies. Beyond that, I'm not seeing a ton of plug and play viability is what I'm trying to get at, but we see the blueprint for what the Gungans have, and it's going to be super cool. I think, you know, we got to wait and see for the full picture. This team can be really good. Like we're saying, shield generator, awesome. Boss Nass, tons of protection, awesome. Newt Gunnery-like damage with the true damage on the debuffs. Pretty darn awesome. Very durable, very fast, awesome. But at the same time, these strengths kind of have a weakness in and of itself. It's a double-edged sword, which is kind of wild here. So I want to wrap up with a few more things here after that little bit of optimism for the future of the Gungan regime. Come on over here real quick. First things first, if you are going to go all in on Zetas right now, again, I don't really see a reason to wail on this, especially if all the freebies that are being given out. And I don't know if I'd recommend going all in on Zetas and Omicrons yet, but if you do want to do some of the cool stuff that I showed you, where he's maybe got solo potential for cleanups on other solo characters out there, I don't know. Or you just want to get a little bit wild, I do think Ancora Resilience is probably the most important one, because this does the damage, true damage when he does a debuff, and that's kind of why I was able to clean up like General Skywalker and other things like General Grievous. Other Zeta is going to be up here where it's still very good. It's going to be necessary likely when the Gungans come, where you're going to get the speed down, you're going to get the bones protection, you're going to also get the stacking protection as time goes on, and you're going to get that big boost of Terminator when the shield generator goes down. I don't think it's important right now for just Boss Nass soloing. Territory Wars, I think is going to be very interesting. As you know, I'm not the biggest Territory fan. I don't think you get the best bang per buck, but nonetheless, you can't deny this looks really good. Getting even more max protection, more speed, more protection cover. You have that trail-like cleanse mechanic where they just take a turn, boom, they get cleansed. You, daze and stuns don't do anything. I wish this was Grand Arena. I would have done it in a heartbeat. So we have to wait and see for the full Gungan faction, because this team, I think the most important unit that I'm waiting for, that's really going to define if this team's going to be trash or if it's going to be amazing, is going to be the Gungan tank. And assuming this is the order of operations, this seems to be the last Gungan they'll release before Jar Jar. So it might be a while before we can really identify where this team will sit. Is it going to be amazing, like all those pros we talked about? Or is this team going to crumble? Because again, a simple Mon Mothma Swarm, Trooper Swarm, you know, Geonosian Swarm, onto that shield generator, the team is done for at that point. So this tank, it's going to have to pre-taunt. It's going to have to do something maybe where if the tank is alive, you can't target the shield generator. So that's going to be the most important. Not to say that the damage dealers like, you know, Tarpals and the Bombardier aren't going to be important. It's this tank right here that's going to really define where this team is moving forward. All right. Last thing we're going to talk about are all the freebie stuff that CG is giving out. Number one thing, make sure you go to the web store, you claim your free Boss Nass shards. I thought this was a daily thing. Unfortunately, it's only a one-time offer, so make sure you claim it. If you can't get to the web store, it's only 5 shards, but basically that's one marquee pack if you think about it. That's about 1,300 crystals in today's Swoga economy. It's not repeating because I myself was coming back to my main account, and unfortunately, I do not see it again. So it's only kind of a one-time deal. However, there are other stuff that you want to be aware of. I want to talk about this marquee event at the very tail end of this video. Let's reload the game real quick. I was logged into the web store. When the CG announced in their road ahead that they're going to be doing something new with the marquee event, I got a little worried because the marquee event structure is great where everyone gets a 3-star character for free, kind of get like a little test drive. Not like it's the most honest test drive. They kind of, you know, they kind of give you a bit of a over analysis. They kind of give you a little bit of super best case scenario or impractical scenarios. But nonetheless, it's kind of fun to play through the event. The good news is, number one, is that we still have the free character. So as long as you do tier 1, boom, you're getting the character. And 3 stars gets you the tier 2. So beforehand, you wouldn't get anything else. Now, this is a daily replayable event for every single one of these tiers. I just want to show you the rewards. So even if you're free to play, you're not going to whale. Make sure you at least get to your tier 2. Free rewards is free rewards, better than the marquees for past several years where they just didn't give out any gear. But of course, the higher you go into this whole process inside of the Boss Nass acquisition process, the more stuff you're gonna get here. So let me go pull up my free-to-play account so we can see how that operates. But as you can see, pretty substantial rewards if you do go above and beyond, which makes sense because again, I told people there's no reason to wail on these characters day one, especially a brand new faction. You're not gonna be able to use them in the next Grand Arena, you know, so it's gonna be a while till it's fully realized, and I'm sure CG realized that, so they're dropping the overall cost to acquire these Gungans day one. And here's a fantastic post before we show the individual tiers from our resident Jar Jar lover Egnard. Long story short, you can kind of see the estimated cost of getting the Gungans up and running if you're trying to chase Jar Jar day one, where normally it's 150,000 crystals, give or take. Well, worst case scenario, it's coming down to 113,000, mid-grade scenario 86,000, and best case scenario 57,000 crystals. If you play your cards right, you don't go all out whale. Again, don't do what I do. You know, I'm doing it so you guys can kind of get that early peek and kind of make the guesstimate. Is this something that's worth your time, worth your money, worth whatever resources? And here you go. So you can kind of correlate here. Tier 2, you're going to get another 10 shards here, which again is nice. When you get a 4-star, you'll be able to get access to tier 3, which gives you Chirotech and even more Boss Nass shards. Again, I could farm Boss Nass shards daily. Tier 4, again, more Boss Nass shards. You start getting geared 12 pieces. Pretty sweet. 6-star Boss Nass. And if you are going to whale, I would say stop at the 6-star Boss Nass, because you can basically farm the rest from 6 to 7, it feels like, just by replaying the marquee event over and over and over again. So tier 5, you start getting some relic material. Tier 6, you start getting crystals. And tier 7, you start getting Zibital cards, Erodiums, electrum conductors every single day, and Zeta. So if you got the 6 stars today, you can have 14 Zetas. You can have yourself, what is that? So if you place every single day, you'll have yourself out, 14, 7 times 2, 14 Zibitals, 14 Electrum Conductors. So I'm kind of a fan of this. If you whale, you get something out of it. And if you're free to play, you still get something out of it. But if you stop at the tier where you need 6 stars, just park it right there at tier 5. And then every single day, you'll be able to get another 5, 10, 15 shards. And, let's just pull out the calculator. Assuming you did the full 7 days, 15 times 7, boom, 105. So please, it's your money. You don't need me telling you what to do. And I always tell people there's no need to whale day one, but if you are going to whale, there's just not a real need to get Boss Nass to 7 stars right away. Get it to 6 stars. You'll basically get the 7-star for free. Kind of a big deal. Making it cheaper, making it more accessible. How can we be really mad at that? So we're going to end right there. I'm having fun at Boss Nass. I'm optimistic about the Gungans. I got to wait for the team to pan out. It could be an amazing team as we're going to see, or if they don't find a way to protect that shield generator, this team is dead in the water and nothing cool is going to really come out of it. But with 2 more attackers, we have a Grand Arena Omicron, possibly of Jar Jar Binks in the tank that we're going to need. There's a lot more to come, and we're already seeing some good stuff in the meantime. So guys, thank you so much for stopping by. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Is this something that's getting you up and running? Are you excited for the future of the Gungan faction? And make sure you're enjoying all those free rewards. And more importantly, my friends, until we meet again, always remember how it's great to be man in the Empire today.